right. That was the first time I got to use my new countdown.
Adorable.
Yeah, it was kind of festive there at the end. I like it.
Yeah, I tried. But I will have a Diversity is Lit themed one soon because I realized that I need that. But hello, everyone. Welcome to Diversity is Lit. We are a book club. I am here with my lovely co-hosts who will introduce themselves in a moment. And today we will be talking about Beasts and Beauty. I mean, I was like, did I grab the right book? Okay. I'm always thrown off by starting the next book, but by Soman Chainani, 12 Dangerous Tales. Oh, and Heather made it. Yay. Circle of Death. Mushes here. So exciting. So if you don't know me, my name is Holly. I'm a young adult and middle grade fantasy writer and avid reader. I am repping Beauty and the Beast today with my shirts, and I'm happy to be here as always. Alicia, you want to go?
Yeah, I was going to say, should I go next?
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. I'm writer Alicia Grumly, and you can find me on Instagram and now on YouTube by that same name. And I write some young adult. I write poetry. That's kind of my main dig that I like to write. I like to write nonfiction. I've been doing some letter writing, to myself, to past versions of myself, future versions of myself lately. And I am excited to be here to talk about this book with you all.
Yay.
I'll go next. Hello, everyone. I'm Teresa Beasley. I write young adult contemporary and adult thrillers. And you can connect with me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Arthur T.A. Beasley. I'm also a podcaster and book reviewer, and I'm excited to be here.
Yay.
And I'm Vanessa Marie. I'm a YA fantasy, paranormal, and horror writer. And I also do nonfiction writing craft books as well. And you can find me at Vanessa Marie Books. I changed all my handles to Vanessa Marie Books. So
Well, I was trying to tag you, and then I'm like, wait, where's Vanessa? I'm putting in author, and I'm like, okay, let me just put in VAN, and I'm like, oh, okay, it must have always been like this.
No, I just changed everything.
Nice.
Funny.
I'm giving a shout out to Vanessa Marie for her writing diverse characters, characters with disabilities. That's the guide I read last month, and it was really good, really helpful for my current work in progress. So shout out to her. And then also I was able to catch most of her Writing Diversely series with, oh my gosh, I'm totally blanking on
Right?
Yes.
Right.
all I had in my head was Jake Livingston, who is the author of The Taking of Jake Livingston, and that was so good. So lots of good things coming in this space from all the lovelies. And I think Heather's connection was kind of wonky, so hopefully she can try to pop in here soon. I do want to give a quick mention before we get started on the discussion that my Black Friday deal / Cyber Monday deal is still good until tomorrow. I don't know if it's till tomorrow at midnight, but the code is Friday 10, and it's linked down below for 10% off the merch store. And I added long sleeve shirts and sweatshirts, and there's always been hoodies. So if you guys are interested, you can get some goodies. And hello, Kristen's here. Hello. Happy
Hi, KK.
And then, oh shoot, I should have pulled up our what's it called? The
Trigger warnings?
Yes, thank you. That's a thing.
Good.
That was a complete shot in the dark. I was very unsure what you were looking for.
I know. First off, there will be spoilers. So if you're okay with that, keep watching. If not, you can come back and watch the replay. But the trigger warnings for Beast and Beauty are, sorry, I'm pulling it up right now. Child abuse, human trafficking, racism, rape, murder, violence, and cannibalism. Okay. I read the book and I made it here. Yay!
Yay!
You did! Yay!
So I'm really, really, really glad that we picked this as our book last month because I loved it. I absolutely adored all of the short stories. And then with the illustrations just made it so special, and it was just so cool because it made it so like magical and come to life on the page. And like I was trying to star like the short stories that I like really liked, that were like my favorite, but then I would read the next one and I'm like, oh, I really like this one too. So I just, and the prose was really strong. I just liked the way the stories were told, kind of more narration style. And I could see myself reading these again. So I gave it 5 out of 5 stars.
I was gonna say, Vanessa, where are you hanging? Because you and I usually are diametrically opposed. Where are you at, girlfriend?
That's what I was actually wondering where you were at too, because I loved it. I gave it 5 out of 5. It's my favorite, one of my favorites of the year.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
Well, we found another one that we have in common that we've enjoyed then. I really enjoyed everything that I read. I didn't read 2 of them total because we talked about this a little bit beforehand and backstage, but I double nanoed last month, and that was like a lot for me. It was planned. I planned to do it, but I mean, there were a couple of over 15K days there, and it was significant. So I didn't read 2 of the stories, but I agree with everything that's been said so far, that I loved it, that it was a great choice. I really like the short story option for November because of things like this, So, yeah. What about you, Teresa?
Now.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, really quick, Heather tried to join Signal's Bad. Oh, well, you're here, so yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, I think I'm the oddball this time.
Really? Wow. So you didn't like it at all?
Which is unusual.
I like it. Some spice.
It's not that I didn't like it. I just think I read this at the wrong time. Because I've been so sick, and I really couldn't. Being sick, I just couldn't really focus on the stories. But I did read everything. It's just that I wasn't really connecting with anything. And I think it's just because I was sick. So I'm going to reread the whole book again. I do know that there is 2 of the stories that I read in here that I did really like. But as far as the whole book, I think I just need to reread it again. Because I so read it at the wrong time.
Fair enough.
Totally read it at the wrong time. But there is 2 that I really liked that jumped out at me, but I'm sure I would like the whole book. I just need to reread it again.
Yeah. And Heather, let us know what you thought, because it looks like you're going to be in the comments. So let us know what you thought.
Yeah, Kristen gave it 4 out of 5, and Heather said 4.5 out of 5.
Okay.
So.
And I really like Twisted Fairy Tales in general. That's something that I have a couple of Twisted Fairy Tales I haven't worked on them in a long time, but I have them over here, and it's a Twisted Fairy Tale trilogy. So I dig this genre in general. So
that's what I was worried about.
Same.
Yeah, I was worried that oh my gosh, what if these are just kind of generic retellings? Like, how can all of them be and then I'm reading, I'm like, oh, okay, well, these are different. So I really liked how Soman really turned them on, each deal on its head, and made them his own, and made like somehow he made them fresh and unique. So
and a little dark.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And a little dark.
That's why I was trying to figure out, because the School for Good and Evil series is middle grade. So then I was like, is this middle grade? Is this young adult? Like, I couldn't.
I was wondering if it was going to be middle grade as well. And I like middle grade, but it's not my go-to genre, right? Because usually I find that YA is a little bit more compelling. But I think because of the content level, it has to be at least YA, maybe new adult. Because so many of those stories, are like marriage and rape. And, like not so many, but like there is this dark theme, of like twisted that runs through the stories, like those motifs carry through. So,
and it says ages 10 and up.
Okay.
In the front flap, it says ages 10 and up in the front flap in here.
I guess if it was a very mature 10-year-old, I would recommend it for a 10-year-old. But for me personally, I would say probably 12 or 13 would be more appropriate for anybody in the audience who's like, oh, I've got a 10-year-old. But if you were sitting there reading it with them as a 10-year-old, so like you were reading it to them, and you like know your child. And I am not a fan of censorship, like as we all know. I just want to make sure to be clear about that again. But some of the subject matter, I would say, is a little dark for some 10-year-olds. Yeah. So I would say maybe 12 or 13 would be a very appropriate age range to start this. But this would be a fun one for anybody to get for a holiday present. I'm sure that people would love that as a holiday present.
Yeah, that's true.
Agree.
Heather said it was fun because he did not hold back at all.
Yes.
And I mean, the original fairy tales were dark and twisted like that, and they were told to children. That is true.
It's true.
That's true.
Yeah, the Grimm brothers. Yeah. But still, some of that stuff, like Bluebeard especially, I wouldn't be letting a 10-year-old read Bluebeard by itself. I would not be letting a 10-year-old read that by itself. Like, I'd be like, okay, we can read this together. We should talk about this. Because there's some things in there, like.
You want to talk about Bluebeard since you're name dropping?
Yeah, I think that one was a fun surprise for me because all those other fairy tales I was expecting, like not expecting, but in how they turned out, but expecting in terms of those are fairy tale canon stories. Rumpelstiltskin, Cinderella, Little Mermaid, Sleeping Beauty, like these are canon fairy tale stories, at least Western fairy tale stories, right? And I think that including Bluebeard, because I often think of Bluebeard as like a pirate type story, right? Or like Bluebeard because it reminds me like Blackbeard, and like that one was like so. Ooh, it was so good and bad and good and It was so much. There were so many things. Like I think one of my favorite quotes from that, and I don't have the page on it because I didn't write it down sillily enough, but I might be able to find it. But there was a quote in Bluebeard that said, where the boy who's narrating that story, and what's his name? Pietro? Pietro, I think. He was saying that, where is it? Bluebeard, okay. To eat is to be owned. And I just was like, ooh, like he gets it. And because like if you go, one of my favorite Greek mythology stories is the story of Demeter and her daughter Persephone and Hades, right? And how Persephone becomes queen of the underworld because she has to, she eats 6 pomegranate seeds while she's there. That's how the lore goes. And by eating those seeds, she is trapped there in the underworld forever, supposedly. But her mother is the goddess of the harvest, and she is very sad that her daughter is away for the rest of her time. So they kind of have to make a deal that Persephone is in the underworld for 6 months of the year, and then that she's returned home to be with her mother for the other 6, which is why, like, the Greeks explained the seasons of winter and summer and, you know, all of that. That's how these seasons were explained. So this concept of like eating and ownership is something that kind of persists through some mythology that I'm familiar with. So I thought that was very interesting. But that was the quote for me that like stuck out, because it's like, oh yeah, like if somebody's feeding you, you're you know, kind of indebted to them in a way, right? Like, okay, like, but to hear it put that way, like eating is ownership, is just, woo, it got me. It got me. Ooh,
I liked the whole like deal, threat, punishment, and like how he was like, oh yep, there it is, and you know, and the line that stuck out to me in that one was when he said, how can you live by a deal if you don't know its price?
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
So I'm glad there was like redemption at the end, because I kind of like with Heather saying she wasn't familiar with the original Bluebeard story, me neither. So I was like, I have no idea what to expect. And so I did like that because it was more of air of surprise for me. But it was still like, yeah, it was gory in that like he saw like the 6 boys on the wall with their throats slashed, and you know he's trying to kill them, and then Pietro puts all their dead bodies at the dinner table with their names and blood
once again, that's some dark shit.
Yes. So dark. Oh my gosh. And then stabs Bluebeard is like, yeah, so that was
and he like kicks him out of the window, you guys. Like he doesn't just like stab him, but he like kicks him out of the window on the cliff. Like, I mean, the point is good. Like, if someone's abusing you, do what it takes to protect yourself and your family, and you know, like his chosen family. But like, I mean, he kicks him out of a window. We need to understand. And I'm not saying that Bluebeard was a good man. I'm not saying Bluebeard didn't deserve it. But I'm saying Pietro was not having none of his crap.
Oh, he didn't want to die either.
Right.
I think he was already like, you know, at the beginning of the story, I forget who he's talking to when they ask him how he ended up in the orphanage.
Oh, right. And he's like, I killed my uncle. Yeah, there it is.
Right.
Yeah. So I think, you know, he already talked about the abuse he got from his uncle. So he wasn't going to go through that.
He knew it was in him. Yeah. I didn't even remember
it wasn't a surprise, but it was like, oh, dang.
So he went into orphanage with issues.
Right. Yeah. Like some of these I didn't want to read at night before I went to bed because they were a little too dark, you know? I'm like, I don't want to dream about this. I don't.
Yeah. There's fae lore surrounding eating as well.
Oh.
Boy's a survivor.
But like fae lore, Kristen's right. Like if you're eating and like you're like in debt and you know you're given, like you can't give the fae your real name and you can't do those things. So yeah, there's that's a really important motif, I think, that was through the fairy tales, which was interesting.
And then it was redemptive for him to go back to the orphanage and rescue all the boys there.
All the other boys.
I love that.
Yeah,
I did too. But like he went in Bluebeard's like tiger coat. Like he was like, no, I'm the master of this castle now. He's like, sorry. Like I would lose my nuggets if a 16-year-old boy like walked in wearing the coat of a tiger that you know that the person that bought him for I mean he bought him, right? That Bluebeard like the person that had last been wearing it was the person who bought him, and nope, it's a 16-year-old and he is not here to like he's here to put you out of a job and buy the whole orphanage for safety.
So, Teresa, I'm curious which two did end up sticking out to you?
I liked Hansel and Gretel
Okay.
because I liked the trick
That
at
was
the
one of my
end.
favorite ones too.
That's one of the ones I didn't read, but go ahead and talk about it. 'Cause it'll,
I
yeah.
want to say then.
no, it'll be fine. I'm going to read it anyway. So just go ahead and
Okay.
talk about it. Go ahead and talk about it.
I like the Hansel and Gretel because they're going into the woods and then they make their way back home, but you find out that it's their mom that's in the house.
Yes.
And I guess technically she would be their stepmom. They end up tricking her into
Yes.
getting in the oven.
Yes.
Getting in the oven, which I thought was really cool. And she's like, no, you got to go further in. And she goes further into the oven. I'm like, do you not understand what they're doing? They are.
Yeah.
This is a horror story. Don't open the door.
Right. I'm like, you're supposed to be smart, and you're tricking these kids trying to get rid of them. And it's like it backfired on her, which I absolutely loved that it backfired on her. And then the other one that I really liked was the excuse me, Sleeping Beauty. Sleeping Beauty. I liked the twist in that one too, because of course the queen was trying to get rid of her, and then she ends with the comb, and then she ends up tricking her and having her eat. I think she offered her some banana bread. I think she offered her some. Isn't Sleeping Beauty not? No, I'm talking about Snow White.
Oh, okay.
Snow
I was gonna say, I don't think that was Sleeping Beauty. Which Snow White. Yes.
No, it was Snow White. It's Snow White is the one I liked because she was trying to poison her with I think a comb or something, and then she gives she's like the mirror's like, no, she's still alive. Bread. And then she puts the poison in the banana bread and convinces her to eat it. And I'm like, oh, that is awesome.
Like savage. These are savage, and I love it.
Oh,
I'm like, that is so dark. Oh,
that one was one of my favorite ones as well. Snow White was probably my absolute favorite out of all of these.
yes.
I love a lot of them, but Snow White was my absolute favorite. And because I really love the end, what they did with the end. And I'm going to jump into quotes here right now.
Okay.
I love the last page of Snow White. It's page 44.
Okay.
And she's like, Snow White doesn't die, even though she's supposed to die. The doors to the castle are thrown open. She's back, stronger than before. The king startles, the story thrown off script. Snow White glares him in the eye. Her child won't lose her mother. Her child won't be kept down. Her child will be raised right. A black swan that knows it's a queen. Mother hugs child to her breast and mounts her throne. Hair wild, feet to the earth. Black that shines brighter than gold. No, she's not going anywhere.
And that's
yes.
Yeah.
That picture is everything.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
It's
incredible. I had the same quote too, Vanessa. I agree.
I really love this one. Was one of my favorite ones too, and just like her, like that everything was flipped on its head, and the message of racism too, or overcoming racism rather, and so I love that. And Snow White like wasn't dumb, like she wasn't fooled by the queen, the old one. So it's like she knew better.
Yeah.
And
then the prince accidentally hits her and knocks her off. Because isn't it, or is that the Sleeping Beauty?
Sleeping Beauty is the one that actually has some LGBTQ plus representation in it.
Yeah.
Okay, is that the one where the prince accidentally hits Okay, I'm getting confused.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, my
it was
muddled
Sleeping
mind.
Beauty. No, you're fine.
I think it was Sleeping Beauty. I think my medicine's kicking in.
No, you're fine.
Another part though in Snow White, another line that I really liked was on page 30, when she has to tell the dwarves a story, and it says, even though she doesn't know any fairy tales, not any good ones, all the stories she heard at the castle about beasts and beauties don't make the slightest bit of sense. But she's too smart to admit it or say that there are no fairy tales for people like them. Instead, she thinks now it's time to make some. And I was like, I love that, because this story is basically, this whole Snow White story is like a story for us. Like, you know, it's like most of the classic fairy tale stories are all white cisgendered women as the princess or protagonist. And so I love that that line was in there, because it's like, yeah, this is a Snow White story for us Black girls.
Yes. So
And the
powerful.
artwork.
Yeah, the
that's in
artwork
the
in that
book,
one was excellent.
It was beautiful.
I want to go back to Hansel and Gretel too, because that one was also one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Especially starting off with like, this is a warning tale for adults, not kids. And I was like,
Yes.
what? But the richness of the culture in that one was so so beautiful. Even just the names, Rishi and Lakshmi, and talking about all the different foods and treats. But then also just the fact that like, you know, their mom was the one who was making the treats for, and the dad was selling it, but he's trying to pull it off on his own, and everyone's jealous of her, saying she's a witch because their bakeries are going out of business. And it was just like, I love how like Soman like weaved in these, you know, real life you know, problems into the fairy tales with like, hey, like women have to like, you know, work harder to make their name known, and men are trying to take credit. And so that was just like so so strong for me. And then especially at the end when like they're, you know, the children are reunited, but then the mom still leaves like sweet treats at the dad's door to remind him what he lost. Like, oh, that was just like, yes, like that just, you know, hits another like nail in the coffin for him, because he literally lost everything. So yeah, Kristen said ending of Snow White was fire. Hansel and Gretel was one of my faves.
Yay.
Oh, and then I also like, so one of the quotes in Hansel and Gretel was on page 123. Unlike most parents in the village, I think this is the mom. Unlike most parents in the village, she trusted her children's instincts more than her own. Which was like, wow, like she really trusts her kids. But that's what saved her in the end. And then on page, where is it? 137. She says, I know what you did, but happy endings are not won so easily. Justice takes time. And it sounds like there is still some justice to be done. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Heather said, I thought it was interesting how the mother still gave the husband treats despite how he had treated her.
True.
No. Aw. You're in the middle of nowhere. It's okay, Beth. Thanks for trying.
I think my favorite story was one that I was not anticipating to be my favorite story. So my favorite fairy tale is Cinderella. I love all versions of Cinderella that exist. And I was anticipating that Cinderella would be my favorite because of that information. And it was not. I was like, it was good, but I don't even know if I'd put it in my top 3 like, for Cinderella. But for me, it was Beauty and the Beast was actually my favorite. And it was, it was so good. That ending just like killed me. Oh, it killed me so much because like, okay, but also, okay, I have so many thoughts about this. First of all, I think Soman does a really nice job of expressing, without ever outright saying it, that he's a feminist, right? Because there are so many themes in this story that I forgot from time to time that I was not reading like an elder, wise woman speaking to young girls, right? Like, which I mean is a high compliment, right? Most of the time, I feel like most male authors do not capture that sense of like the way that things really are for females very well. And I feel like someone really, really captured it for me. Especially like in Beauty and the Beast. And on page 174, he says, well, they're like, and I love how the Beast like leaves her a book every day and like wants to hear her thoughts about it. So that's like a fun twist from what we've seen. You know, well, like, I mean, it builds on that. Like Beast wants her to read to him and they read, but like, it's just cool that he's picking books for her from the library, right? And he says, did you like the book? Not particularly, she answers. A girl should fight her own battles against a monster, not call in a prince. And I was just like, oh, give me that. I love it. Yeah, like, woo, right? And, but like the ending of that story, because, you know, she, first of all, she had ambition, which I feel like we don't often see Belle with ambition. Now, I would see it a little bit in the show Once Upon a Time. I would argue that that version of Belle had a little bit of ambition, but she also like used her smarts and used her sense of adventure to like drive her, right? But like in this May, I think, MEI is the version of Belle, and she was like, yeah, I'm helping my father because I want a house to myself and I don't want anyone to be like, I don't want anybody to talk to me. I want to read my books in peace. And like, like my sisters are whatever they are, and like they are pieces of work, that is for sure. But like she's like, all right, father, like go meet with this investor that I found for you, because guess what? I want a house by myself. I don't want to be owned or married to anyone. And her father messes that up for her, first of all, because he's
of course
something, right? And then she like is like, oh, okay, wait a minute. Like, I can go to this castle as a prisoner and be like in charge of this castle. Like, how many rooms are there? Okay, there can't be that many other people. It's fine. All right, cool. I'll go. And she like gets what she wants. And then, you know, she does end up falling in love with the Beast after he catches her, right? Because he questions her, like, what would it take for you to fall in love? What does a girl want to fall in love with? And she says, you know, like, that he listens to her and then he's there for her and then he catches her when she falls. She literally sets this up. And then she does fall and he does catch her and he dies, right? But True Love's Kiss saves the day, because it's not a fairy tale without True Love's Kiss, right? You have to have that. So True Love's Kiss saves the day. And then she doesn't recognize him and she kills him herself.
I know.
Oh. And like she got everything she wanted, but like twisted. And it made me so upset. Oh, it made me so upset.
Yeah.
I was like,
it was like a bittersweet. It was like,
it was very bitter. It didn't feel, it felt sweet if it had stopped before he died the second time.
Sorry, guys. My husband's being goofy. He just gave me bunny ears.
That's cute. I like it. It's cute. But yeah, if he had died, if he had like not died twice in 3 pages, I would have been fine. But like at the same time, like as an author,
Yeah.
As an author, like that is a brilliant tactic because it made me let my guard down a little bit, right? I was like, oh, there can't be any more twists coming. He dies, true love saves him, the twist has ended. No, it didn't. So it was brilliant writing. I was very impressed with the writing in that story in particular. But I really enjoyed that story. And I think that's one of the criteria that I didn't used to have for like books that I like or characters that I like is like now that I know how much effort it takes to write the stories, and now that I write my own stories, and now that I have to like see the movie in my head and get it on the page and still like surprise everybody when I'm reading something and I'm surprised by something that happens, I love that because I do enough reading and I write, and so it's like when you can surprise me somehow, I like that. I really like that feeling of like, oh, like wait, no, there's a double twist, or like at the end of Beauty and the Beast, and then she ends.
Says this ghost is at least still picking up books for her. That's the dash.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But like, she has to live with the fact, like she says this phrase in there, like she was just like all the rest, and that.
Yeah, that was actually the quote I was going to mention. One of my favorite quotes from this one is on page 180 when it says, "To look and not see, she is as guilty as the rest." I was like, that one hit. I was like, wow, yeah. But going back to what you were saying, Alicia, about surprising us and the twist and stuff, that's one of my favorite things. That if because like you, I read a lot and I write as well, and so I can see a lot of things coming before they happen. And so if you can surprise me, I love that.
Yes. That's the problem with being a writer, It's like, everything. One of the lines that I liked from Beauty and the Beast was on page 160. But May isn't doting on her father out of virtue. She finds him stubborn, arrogant, and obsessed with money. Yet playing the dutiful daughter has benefits. She can stay at home and read her books while her sisters hunt for husbands. Men in this town are boorish and bigoted. They look at you instead of see you.
Yeah, I have that one underlined too. Oh,
yeah. I loved that. Like, look at you instead of see you. Oh, just like mic drop. Yes.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And I will say he wasn't a bad looking beast.
No, he wasn't.
That's true. That's true. He's pretty dapper.
He was pretty dapper for a beast.
Yeah, I mean, he's still got like a lot of human looks there.
Yeah.
So I did want to point out really quick, since you said like Cinderella wasn't your favorite one, was just that one was actually really hilarious. I think that one had the most like comedic parts out of all of the short stories.
I would agree.
I kept saying LOL like every single couple pages.
I was actually surprised with the Cinderella one because Cinderella here again is where me and Alicia are opposites because Cinderella is not my fairy tale story that I like really. But I did really like the Cinderella story. It made me laugh so much, and I had a lot of fun with the Cinderella version. I would say, you know what? I don't like most Cinderella stories, but this is one that I really like.
I liked how they were in the carriage with the fiancés or the girlfriend's witch aunt or whatever. Was it an aunt? I forget.
Or her grandmother.
Right. And then she's just like, oh yeah, we're trying to stop anyone from getting too close to the prince. And it's like, oh look, that's exactly what both of them are trying to do.
We're trying to do.
Yeah. And she makes her into like this really beautiful, like gives her a really beautiful gown, and she makes her into one of the prettiest girls there. And,
it's your own fault.
Yeah, what were you expecting?
Like, what did she think was going to happen?
Yeah.
But
I did like the addition. Sorry, what was? I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that's okay. Now the mouse that was her friend, was she like someone else that knew the prince?
Yeah, she was in love with the prince.
To the prince.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, she was the one that was engaged to the prince. Okay.
Yeah.
But then the girl was like jealous and turned her into the mouse.
Yeah.
And so then he didn't know what happened to her.
Okay.
But I did like that edition. Like, I've never read an edition of Cinderella where it was the mouse was also in love with the prince, or like where Cinderella, because like Cinderella like doesn't even really fall in love. Lords, right? Her name is Lords, as we find out near the end of that story. But Lords doesn't even really like love the prince, which is I kind of liked that detail of difference. And it's like, oh, the mouse likes the prince, and okay.
Well, then they ran away together.
Right.
Yeah. We could get the prince. We don't want him.
Well, they had him for a little bit. They were both with them for a little bit.
That's true. And then wasn't it that he was like, oh, they're like not giving me
they
much
were
attention.
They were ignoring him. And like,
well, right, but then he like danced with them, and she started the Magdalena, the mouse, started like coaching Lords on what to say. And that was when he like knew it was Lords, and he knew that Lords, or he knew that Magdalena wasn't dead like he thought, and he was like, I didn't know you were a mouse, and it kind of turned all wonky from there. And I kind of thought the twist might have been with that the mouse was just gonna like live in Cinderella's like shoulder forever and like pretend to be just like talk, and it was like the mouse was gonna think she was like, because I didn't know how she was gonna get unmoused basically.
Yes.
Well, you know what? I didn't even think about like what if the one of the witches like ended up getting mad at the prince and then turned him into a mouse, and then they could have been together as mice.
That would have been good.
Yeah.
And like could have lived. But I kind of also like thought maybe this is why I just didn't like the twist of Cinderella. I thought maybe it would be interesting if Cinderella, the character of Cinderella Lords, had like turned a little more sour. Like if she was like, okay, now I've got the prince and bye, like, and just like started ignoring the mouse kind of thing. Like, not that I wanted to see that happen, but like at the same time, like I kind of would have liked to have seen Cinderella, who is not like this good character, right? Like she's pure and
like
good.
Like a dark Cinderella.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a dark Cinderella.
Yeah.
That would have been cool.
That's what I'm saying.
I have to read one of the quotes that made me laugh out loud. When, let's see, I think, oh yeah, so the mouse was trying to, that's Magdalena was trying to like clean up Cinderella, and or this is on page 215/216. Ow, says Cinderella when the mouse plucks more of her brow. This is ridiculous. A prince won't marry the girl with the nicest eyebrows. He'll marry a girl who he can talk to, a girl who's good inside. You have a fundamental misunderstanding of men, says Magdalena. Now, what's the mustache?
Yeah, that was funny.
That was funny.
Yeah.
It just made me laugh. I enjoyed that one a lot because it just.
But
had
that
like-
whole scene, like it goes on and it's like, but then the mouse cleans her up with a good clay mask, a thorough trimming of flyaway hairs, a 5-day nothing but watermelon and sweet potatoes to make her glow like an evening star. Until at last she's something to behold and they can finally think about what she's going to wear.
Where?
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah, like I would love to pick Soman's brain about like how he got like these, because once again I think he just does a really good job of encapsulating some of this like societal expectation for women without ever having been one. I'm assuming. I guess I am making that assumption here. I don't know, but it's just very interesting to me. So I would love to like hear him say like who those women influences are that he looks up to, and like all those things that those women influence, or like does he have a sister and that's how the like influence, like told his sisters and like talked to his sisters, or is it like his aunties talking to the cousins, and like I think there's some like really powerful language there.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true. I wonder there's got to be some interviews with him or something.
Yeah, we'll have to look.
Yeah,
Yeah.
where he talks about it. I'm sure.
If while we're on the subject of funny stories, I want to jump to Rapunzel because I really loved Rapunzel as well. Her character was hilarious and so funny, and there are several lines in here that I really want to read. So I'm just like, I love the whole scene, that entire scene, the second day when the prince comes back and he is trying to whisk her away and talking about he wants her to be his wife and bring her to the castle and help him rule the kingdom and all this stuff, and she was like, no thanks, sounds exhausting, no thank you. And then it goes on, and like on page 83, bottom of 82 going to 83, it says, "You've been alone too long," he says, striding for the window. "Tomorrow I'll return and you'll change your tune." "No need," she says. "I'll wait for a prince who has no price for his kiss." "There is no such prince," he promises. "Oh, let's see how far my song carries then." He lashes back. "If a prince kisses a girl who is not his wife, then she is no princess, she's a witch." "I thought you said there was no such prince," she reminds him. "To make the case of if means there must be some, and besides, you kissed a girl who is not your wife on more than one occasion, so it appears you already have a taste for witches." She licks her lips at him. "Wonder what that makes you."
I know. I love
Yes.
that.
I
But,
love that part.
And that like speaks, it's not just funny, right? Because it speaks to the way that I experience, or I have experienced, the way that men often will try and control women. And like, if you're not giving them what they want, not all men, not all the time, but in society, stereotypically, like there's reasons why we have this thread of misogyny that goes through things, right? So it's like really a great way of portraying that, because it's so accurate. It's like, well, you're beautiful until you won't send me nudes, right? And then it's like, no one wants a B word like you anyway, right? It's that flip. Like that switch is flipped instantaneously. And yes, that was funny, and she was very witty there, and I loved that, right? It was such a good banter moment. And I was like, oh yeah, all right, we can play with Rapunzel. Like, she can hang, girl can hang. I like it. But it's also a great scene because it's so accurate to the representation of how misogyny is in society, I feel like. So yeah, that was, I know, I was like, wonder what that makes you, a witch kisser.
That was such a great part. I love that.
Yeah.
So what did you all think about Rumpelstiltskin?
Oh, I thought that was fun.
Oh yeah,
And that one I like.
that was
I kind of
interesting.
forgot that story too because that's a less common one. So that one also, I liked that one because I was like, I don't even really remember anything about Rumpelstiltskin.
I remember Rumpelstiltskin only because I love Once Upon a Time.
Yeah,
And
Rumple.
Yes.
was one of my favorites in Once Upon a Time. And so
Yeah.
that's like the only reason I really remember that. Which, speaking of, like, reading this book and all the different twists in each story reminded me a lot of Once Upon a Time, and I was like, I really want to rewatch it now.
I know, I love that show. It's one of my very favorites.
Mine too.
Okay, see, we've got so much in common of our taste.
That first line in Rumpelstiltskin, the devil doesn't want you to know his name.
Mhm.
Oh,
Yes.
it was just like,
Yes.
right? Like, that drew me in, and I was like,
Yeah. That drew me in too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And the way that, like, the devil, like, makes fun of the babies, like, he makes fun of, like, the name attempts throughout and is like, oh, the Babel, Beelzebub, like, right? And then it's the baby that gives his mother the name of Rumpelstiltskin at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did like that part. Because he was like, he told you.
Right.
Because he realized it was the baby that told her his real name.
Right.
Right.
I like, where is it? Page 274, where Matilda, or what you've made me become, Matilda snaps. I've only made the outside match the inside, says the devil. To this, the girl has no response, which is like, oh my gosh. Because what did he do? Make her.
He cut her hair and he made her nose twisty.
Yeah.
You'd be lucky to get a rat.
I did really like the way the devil, like, narrated that story, though. Like, that Rumpelstiltskin character narrated that story, which is probably problematic in the fact that it also is, like, the devil traditionally is supposed to be very compelling, right? He's supposed to be the one that'll do anything to keep you away. But I thought an interesting part of the twist with this story was that there was nobody redeemable at the start of this story, right?
Right.
You know, and the devil, like, yeah, he even says, like, oh, I've already killed 2 birds with 1 stone. Like, this one deal has yielded me 2 souls. Why would I not keep going? You know, I could end up with 4 souls out of 1 deal. And I thought that was really interesting. And it was, once again, only the concept of a mother's love that saved Matilda. Because she would not have been redeemed if she hadn't been willing to sacrifice herself for that child. And, like, the devil never saw that coming, and, like, that was interesting to me too.
Yeah.
And
also, the quote, same page as you were reading before on 274, but a little bit further down, it says, Matilda draws a breath. Once upon a time, she was the fairest girl in all the land. Then men began to lay traps for her. Her father, the king, the devil. Each time she falls into them thinking she'll be rescued. That is what storybooks taught her. Beauty is goodness. So be beautiful and good things will happen. But it is all lies. And now that she is ugly, she must find a way to save herself. And I think that goes back to what we were talking about earlier of how there's this theme of, like, you know, women in these stories having to be their own prince and save themselves. And that's the feminist side that you were talking about, Alicia.
Yeah, I didn't realize that there really was so much of that, like the feminism in there. because that reminds me of The Little Mermaid, where she doesn't end up like, she changes her mind. Like Ursula gets her to change her mind because she's like, oh wait, I don't even know his name, but I'm like saying it to marry him.
Yeah. Which,
I had
speaking
some
of,
quotes. Oh, go ahead, Vanessa. What were you saying?
I was just gonna say, speaking of The Little Mermaid, that was one where I was like, that was one of the stories where I wanted more from that story, because I really wanted to see. I actually kind of wanted to see her make that mistake of trying to get with the prince and then having the prince treat her the same way her dad treated the witch. And for her to come to the realization, like, wow, she was right. Like, you know what? So
that's true.
I kind of wanted to see that, but I still like the story too.
You
I actually
did or
thought
did
that
not
was
like
what
that
was
one,
going to
Vanessa?
happen.
You did or did not like that one?
I did like that one. What did you say, Teresa?
I was saying that that's what I thought was going to happen. That she was going to go ahead and make the mistake and then realize that what she told her was true, and now she's stuck.
Yeah.
But it was good. Like, her words were enough to
to convince her.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that story a lot, actually. That was a big top one for me. I had a couple of quotes from that one, and I didn't write down the page numbers, but I wrote down the quotes themselves. But I was just skimming through to see if I could find them real quick. But this one, there's so many like currents, intentionally using the word current, right? We're dealing with the sea story. So like there's so many undercurrents of feminism in this, because like even when the Little Mermaid comes to her, she's like, maybe you're the witch. You're the one who's got me trapped in my home. You're coming to me, right? And it's like talking about the way society deals with women again. But there was a comment that she made, and it was about her, I think when they were talking about like how she was in love with her dad, the witch was in love with her dad. She said, nothing is more attractive to a man than a girl who silently surrenders her powers to him. And I was just like, oh God, knock me over. You know,
and the line right after that, it is what fairy tales are built up upon.
Yes, exactly. What page was that on, Holly? Did you have it?
Yes, 251.
251. Yeah, like it's just ooh.
And then and right above that, maybe you didn't fight hard enough, says the mermaid, or maybe your heart really is evil where mine is good. Or maybe I saw love where I wished it would be, says the witch, projecting onto a man what I wished I could give to myself, making him the answer to everything. Now that is real evil.
Yep, I have that one too.
Yes.
Oh, so there's so many good lines in here, like just so rich.
Gosh.
Well, we're coming up on the end of the hour. Any last minute musings?
Can we talk about Peter Pan for just like a second?
Yes. What a way to end it too.
Right? On Peter Pan. It was okay. I loved it. And the quote I had from Peter Pan was, I wanted his love. He wanted my labor. And I was just like, oh, Soman, you've got to stop doing this to me, because it was so much. And then but that was such an interesting look at the way that sacrifice can be played, because she did make the sacrifice for her child, but at the same time, she can't be with her child. You know, she has to trust that her child's safe with its father. And it's just, that was
heart-wrenching.
It was. Go ahead.
I was reading some of the reviews on Goodreads, and a couple people said they bawled at the Peter Pan story because I guess in the School for Good and Evil series, one of the main characters, I guess these are his parents. So we get the backstory.
Wait, what? Now I have to read that series. I wasn't going to read that series.
Oh,
What?
you have to.
I haven't
Shoot.
either. I just started book one.
I haven't finished the series. I've only read the first 3 books, and this was a long time ago. So I need to reread them and finish up with the series.
Oh,
When I read that, I was like, oh, I gotta finish the series like now.
Oh my
So
God.
wait,
Oh my
does
God.
the school take place in Neverland then? Where does the school
No.
take place?
Place-
It's
No.
here.
It's I
It's
forget
like the land
what,
of like
what
Evers or
Yeah.
something.
Oh, okay.
it's a fairy tale land, but I don't remember
Okay.
the name.
Well, shoot.
Gavaldon?
Shoot.
Double
Gavaldon?
shoot.
Yeah. I'm with you, Alicia.
Like,
I did not know that.
Yeah, Vanessa. I didn't need to know that information.
How could
So
you
Peter-
do that, Vanessa?
Oh, so literally the
To make you read it.
first and the last ones. The first and the last
Yeah.
stories were Kristen's favorites.
I loved Red
Oh.
Riding Hood too. Oh, see, there's too
Yeah.
many.
I know.
Yeah.
We're
You
like-
did a very good job.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
We were like, oh, short stories, that'll be good. And next thing we know, we should have made it a longer discussion because they were too good.
Well, there's always the
Yeah.
forum, so feel free to
Yes.
chat more in the
Chat
thread
more.
about any of the short stories we didn't get to talk about, like Red Riding Hood.
Red Riding Hood, can I just say this is what made me pull me into the book, and I was like, oh, this is going to be a good read. Because the very first line is, on the first day of spring, the wolves eat the prettiest girl. It's like,
Oh.
oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
That
It's
drew me
compelling.
in,
That
too.
That is where we're
Yeah,
going. So,
His first lines in some of these stories were just
yeah.
kind of epic.
Oh, no, Alicia.
Mhm.
Oh, Alicia.
Oh.
Yeah, some of them were kind of
There's, like,
epic.
mic
The first
drops,
lines
yes.
were yes.
Yeah.
Yes, they were.
Oh, good. Alicia's back. Okay.
Sorry, I
There
don't know what
she is.
happened.
No, you're
Sorry.
fine. So this was a successful read, and we still have one more book to read to finish out the year. And this one is part of which I don't think Megan Tennant, the author tuber, is doing in December, but that's usually when that happens. So I'm calling it part of in December is our indie
Yes.
book read, Macario's Scepter.
And that cover is gorgeous.
Yes.
Gorgeous.
Yes.
I'm let's see, 45 pages in and really enjoying it so far. So yeah, if you guys would like to read and discuss this with us in the new year, then pick up this indie read and support a self-published author.
Yes.
Okay, so thank you everyone for joining. Thank you to my lovely co-hosts and friends. Everyone is linked down below, so please give them a follow if you haven't already. And we will see you in the forums and next year. Oh.
Yes.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.